All right. So there's this store, something unraveling online right now. This is a guy who pretty known on Twitter that got shot, killed apparently pretty recently, within like the last 24 hours. Um, his Twitter handle is Son I'm Sleep. All right, this guy, he's from Fort Lauderdale. He was killed in Fort Lauderdale outside his home in his car. Apparently, um, seemed like he had some type of beef. Apparently his dad was talking about it. He's on the news. His dad is on the news. They're talking about how people were coming from him before. They might have like effed up his some plants or whatever like that. Um, yeah, like people's he had some ops basically. Right, this dude had some ops. And they was looking for him, and this time they got him. And man, that's it's not a good situation. That's if you're gonna be in the streets, you gotta keep it on you, man. You can't get caught lacking. You get caught lacking, they catch you on the wrong day, wrong night. You know, you're gonna be in a unfortunate situation. You're gonna be getting carried away on a stretcher, man. And you don't want that. So either you, if you're gonna be in the streets, you gotta be ready at all times. You gotta move low key, all right, or you're gonna have to, leave that shit alone and do better. And unfortunately, he's now another victim of the streets. But my thing is, when I'm seeing people do out here is a lot of people online are now already jumping to the memes. They're acting all butthurt over his tweets. You know what I'm saying? We're seeing this with Kevin Samuels. We're seeing this with, other people out here, that have died in the past few years. Um, I don't really care about the whole King Von thing. So obviously he was terrible. If there's memes about him out here being a killer, people saying he shouldn't be glorified, whatever, I'm cool with that because he's not somebody you want people, society to admire. He was a gremlin, uh, and you don't want to be have people admiring, some of these other street guys that died. My thing is just that people are crying over his tweets and using that to be that using that to vilify him. And Cease was just making poking fun at these dumb broads and goofy dudes that would say dumb stuff, and he just make a quote tweet. He'd make a quote tweet, clap him right back at him, and we'd laugh and move on, which is what Twitter should be. You say something, maybe somebody got a video clip that's a funny response back to it. You get some numbers to it, get some views to it, and is what it is. You're just an edgy tweeter. A lot of relationship stuff. And I don't think that requires people trying to get trying to have a parade and jump around and act like, oh yes, he's gone, ah ha ha. He got slimed, he got taken out, he got backdoored, it's funny. Like that's whack. That's whack, that's corny. And that lets me know the type of bitch ass people that's online. You got a lot of bozos out here who come online to act tough and talk shit. And y'all not really about that. The internet was gone, and you had to do that shit in real life. You know damn well it'd be bad for you. It'd be a bad day. And if all of a sudden, let's say uh, all your tweets, let's say, you know, they made the internet like, it couldn't be anonymous anymore, and everybody knew exactly where you lived, and all the tweets you done made, y'all wouldn't, y'all be apologizing quick. But y'all know y'all can get away with talking shit anonymously and saying a bunch of goofy shit or disrespecting people that would smack the shit out of you. You know what I'm saying? Because you get to hide online. That's what online now. You can have all these little pussy ass bitches. That can hide online and talk to people crazy that would never do that before the internet existed, or before you have all these platforms to be online chronically. They would never be online doing this. Now everybody wants to be a Charleston White type, 6'9" type motherfucker that wants to be disrespectful to get attention. And y'all don't understand, like, what I'm saying? You can get done less just like him. You can be just like, you can get, people can find you. What I'm saying? Some of y'all think you can't be found. People can look up, people can find ways, based on the way you tweet, and find your location, and look, get your VPN address or whatever the fuck, and trace you to wherever you're at, and things can get bad for you. And a lot of you pussies, you don't know, you're not gonna know what to do when someone's tying you up, and putting you in your closet. You know what I'm saying? Because you think everything's a game, everything's goofy, and you think that you're just gonna be running around free to do whatever talk crazy to people, behind some behind the screen of your cell phone. Uh, you know, I just think it's just not. It's his tweets were not enough to where you should be talking crazy like that. Like I said, you got people like King Von, not based on his Twitter, but like just on the shit he was doing out here, the amount of people he killed and stuff like that. And if you want to make jokes, but you want to point at him out as a bad person and all that, that's cool. You know, um, if you want to point out, um, who's somebody on Twitter who's like terrible. Someone like James Woods dies. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna give a fuck that people, shit on him, man. Fuck that bitch ass motherfucking old piece of shit, potato looking motherfucker. I wouldn't care. If anybody, people like that die, I'm not gonna care. But like this is like, nah. Like we don't gotta do the Charlie Kirk shit for everybody. So yeah, it's just unnecessary. Y'all think it's cute to be disrespectful, and we're just showing a lack of empathy that we have now. People are chronically online, and they think they can just be disrespectful. They think it's funny. And, they're getting clicks and likes from other bozos, and they don't realize and remember that we all got some humanity to us. You know what I'm saying? He's got family and stuff like that. People who care about him, they're not gonna like seeing him being plastered out there like that. And it's unfortunate. This is what This is the internet has a lot of power, and we gotta really be better. We gotta really be better. We're using the power of the internet to do ignorant things and push ignorance, and that's just not the way to be. We got to be respectful. You got to come on the internet to be smart. This is a smart. The internet is a platform of you know of a lot of power, and we got to use it to bring more knowledge and awareness to things, and to talk about things that'd be harder to get access to without the internet. That's what it's supposed to be about, not spreading more ignorance and finding ways to have stupid conversations. So yeah, this is my take on this guy. Son, I'm sleep. It's unfortunate what happened, but I do think he got, if it's some street stuff that he got into that got him done dirty. I do think that is stupid. You know, he was about my age. Uh, you know, we're at the age where it's like you got to leave that stuff alone. He's got a daughter that he left behind. You got stuff to lose now. You know what I'm saying? We're not young. We're not young no more. We're not old, but not like we're not we're not in our early 20s no more. So we're at the point where you got to leave the street beef behind. I mean, the streets can get anybody, especially in Fort Lauderdale. The streets. It is what it is. Um, If I'm growing up in Fort Lauderdale, look, I'm getting my shit together. I'm out of there. And from what I heard, he had a job already. So uh, yeah, he should have left that stuff alone. Raised a daughter, in a different community. Visited once in a while, but you gotta leave. You just gotta leave that street stuff alone, man. You gotta leave that stuff alone. You gotta put that down and raise your family and do what you gotta do. Because you don't want to get done like that, man. I'm not the age. I'm leaving. I've left. You know, I'm not trying to get caught up in certain stuff. I don't have somebody threaten to get a gun and use it, and uh, that was some years ago, and I started thinking like, damn, wh- I'm not trying to die over some bullshit in the club. I'm not trying to die, arguing with some face tatted having motherfucker. I'm not trying to die over some hood rat. I'm not trying to die over none of this stuff. I'm not trying to die over some fucking weed. I'm not trying to die over no nothing. None of the street shit. All right. I'm not trying to die. I got more shit I want to accomplish in life, man. You know, as long as God can keep me out here and breathing and you know being better every day, then I'm just gonna keep going. I'm take the advantage of life, of living and having life every chance that I got. So it's unfortunate what happened to him, man. Died too soon and died. Y'all gotta think, man. Y'all gotta think about what y'all doing. You're affecting, not just affecting yourself by your decisions, you're affecting your family. All right, man. You gotta think about your family and all of that. And that being said, uh, if you got something to say, just add it to add your thoughts in the comments. Uh, if you're on Twitter, and you know about dude, when you follow dude and you just tapping into his or tapping into you tapped into his Twitter and you're just keeping up with dude. Let me know what you think about him, and if you know him, if you're from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, what I'm saying, let me know what you think. And how is it going down out there? Because I haven't been to Florida in a while, since like actually not a while, but I haven't been there since since the beginning of 2022, which probably is, I guess, a while because always the things always change up. So how is it out there, man? I know, man. It's got to be a lot of dudes getting you know into beefs and dudes having issues and dudes getting backdoor done, getting greased probably by dudes that's close to them. It's probably all types of stuff. I feel like there's a lot of grimy shit going on out there, man. So that's why I'm like, like places like Fort Lauderdale and shit like that, you gotta leave them. If you're coming up out there and you're trying to, do better for yourself and you got issues with dudes out there, just leave that shit alone. Fuck anybody is telling you otherwise, man. You gotta I'm giving the real shit, man. Don't get try to be in your ego and try to be like, nah, nigga, I'm from the streets. I'm from man. Listen, man. Why are you trying to throw your life away? You can lose your life easy. Bullet go through, an artery or whatever. It's done for you. You know what I'm saying? You one moment you sitting there, you're in your car, you're enjoying yourself, you're scrolling on your phone, bow, and you caught right off guard and it's done. And you're in the afterlife. And who knows what's coming for him after, man. And that's the real scary situation. You don't know what's coming after. So hopefully, man, he can get, his family can get the grievance. They can get to grievance and you know, hopefully he's not in a bad place in the afterlife, man. Because you don't want, like I said, you don't want those problems. So R.I.P. to him, and yeah, just give me your take on what's going on. And that's all I got for y'all. I'm out.
Now here at 6 o'clock, a barrage of bullets fatally wound a man sitting in a car parked in a South Florida neighborhood. His family is wondering why their loved one was targeted.
It comes in the wake of some troubling incidents at their home. 7's Robin Simmons is live where it happened. She's in Fort Lauderdale. Robin.
The father telling 7 News that they've seen several strange happenings over the last week or so. A tree on their property set on fire. They awoke to find bullets in their home another day. And then this morning, a loved one, a young father, shot and killed.
That's right. Appreciate it.
A broken-hearted father coming to terms with his son being shot to death outside their Fort Lauderdale home. Mike Menard's final moments caught on camera just before 4:30 Wednesday morning. The 32-year-old taking out the trash, steps into his car, and in moments he would be gunned down.
When I wake up, because after the shot, I heard a shotgun, so I wake up.
A surveillance camera capturing the sound of gunfire, the shooter running, a car driving away. Fort Lauderdale police arriving to the home at Northwest 13th Court and 13th Place. Menard found dead in the driver's seat, bullet holes puncturing the window.
I watched from my window, and I see police come in, 2 police, 3 police, 4 police, 10 police.
Several other cars also hit by the gunfire. Philip Menard says his son was born in Haiti and moved here as a toddler. Mike Menard also leaves behind a 5-year-old little girl.
I try to be strong. Take life of somebody, that's painful. Today is me, tomorrow it could be somebody else.
Menard says his son was the first in their family to graduate and had a bright future, but got caught up with the wrong crowd, which he says led to this devastating tragedy.
There's only guys in my family to reach that level.
This grieving father now anxious for peace and justice.
Life goes on. It's done, but I try.
So again, this happened around 4:30 in the morning, 13th Court and 13th Place. That is the